The conference was all about the convergence of the future of technology. And there were 12 different stages of different types of technology, smart cities and AI and Deep Fest, all about the future.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition Podcast, an auditory journey through the latest in marketing, branding, and advertising. Now, here's your Marketing Expedition guide, Rhea Allen.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition Podcast. I'm your host, Rhea Allen. I'm the president and CEO of Peppershock Media and the founder of the Marketing Expedition community. In this week's episode, you get to hear from me and Drew. He's actually going to interview me about the trip that I took to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia to speak at the LEAP Technology Conference that happened February 6th through 9th of 2023. It was my first adventure there, and I get to tell you all about it. But welcome, Drew, to the show.
Thanks for having me. It was kind of my idea to prompt you as I scroll through your pictures.
Okay.
Because you've been back for a few days and I haven't even talked to you about it or seen half your pictures.
Well, I had to sleep from jet lag for a day to get back on track.
You still sound a little bit jet
2 days,
laggy.
I know. Yeah, it was quite the adventure. 22 hours of flying there and back. So it was good, though. I'm glad I went.
So why is the first picture a picture of a toilet?
Well, when I first got there to the airport, I noticed that they have a nozzle. So they use nozzles to spray. And that was new for me. And that particular bathroom did not have any toilet paper. It just had a nozzle.
So not a shortage, just a preference.
I guess so. But all the other bathrooms had toilet paper. But yeah, that was kind of a new adventure. I hadn't seen that before. I mean, I've seen a bidet. I've seen, when I went to South Korea, I saw the heated toilet seat and all that.
It's a fun way to start the podcast.
And yeah, and then there's others where they, squat to go potty in the hole in the ground. So yeah, that was the first picture I sent to our son. He's
Look at this.
15.
Yeah.
So I thought he would get a kick out of that. Anyway.
And now I'm kind of scrolling through and I'm seeing a lot of food pictures.
Yeah.
Tell us about the food over there.
There's a lot of different types of food. And if you keep scrolling, I actually took pictures of the names of the different types of food so that I could remember what I liked and maybe what I didn't like as much. But falafel was very good. And everything there is really sweet. And dates are their big crop that they can grow, and they grow wild in some areas, and they have a very wide selection of dates that so we actually got to taste a lot. And when I went on a tour later in my trip, we had a guided tour with a couple of other lady speakers that I met, and we went on an adventure, and lots of yummy dates. They don't drink at all in Saudi Arabia.
It's a dry country.
And so they do other things like have Arabian coffee, and it's very light colored. And then they have very dark colored coffee, and they do have Starbucks. The first adventure I took, and I wasn't at the conference, I went to the Granada Mall, and yes, there was Starbucks on both levels of the floor. And I was also surprised to see McDonald's and Subway and Burger King and Dunkin' Donuts and Krispy Kreme and all the things. But
we
then,
have
of course,
infiltrated every corner
Yes,
of the world
have.
with our fast food restaurants.
Yes, but I was there for the authenticity of the food that I otherwise wouldn't normally get in America. So I adventured and had things I had never had before, or maybe just don't know that I did. And it's very good, but they don't have pork, obviously. That's just not a part of their belief system. So they did have beef bacon, which was pretty good, actually. And, other forms of beef that you could eat, and lots of shawarma. I don't know how you say it very well, but it was very good. And at the food festival at the conference, there were all kinds of different food trucks and vendors that you could eat. So yeah, lots of pictures of food, because that was a fun part of my trip.
I feel like we kind of started in a weird order, but why don't we reverse and talk about why you went there in the first place?
Yeah,
what
sure.
was the conference? And
into new worlds. So the conference was all about the convergence of the future of technology. And there were 12 different stages of different types of technology, smart cities and AI and Deep Fest, all about the future of what technology is bringing to us. And lots of examples and samples, and got to hear from people from NASA and SpaceX and creativity in space and how that came to be, and a designer that works for NASA. It was really quite fascinating to listen to all of the different other speakers. Of course, I didn't get to every stage, but I listened to quite a few, and I got to meet some wonderful speakers, one including Dr. Alessandra, and I'll not be able to say her last name, unfortunately, but she is the director of AI at Shutterstock, and we randomly met on a bus because we were waiting to go back to our hotel after I think it was after day one, and she had just got done speaking. I had just got done as well. So yeah, we got to meet up, and then actually ended up going on a tour with her and another one of her panelists from the discussion of AI, and she had a couple different ones, and she talked about the convergence of AI and the governing. And since there's no one really, it's all so new that there's not deep experts on this, and we're just evolving into it. So the legal ramifications of what artificial intelligence can do for the creative economy, and being able to sample different parts and pieces of imagery and words that are used that are now artificially generated, who gets credit for that? And so that was a big topic for her panels. And for me, what I was able to do is bring my marketing trends and wins for the next year, and talked about the different trends that are happening, and that we do a lot of research with our staff and our team here at Peppershock, and was able to share sort of the things that we feel that are happening now and into the future. So we kind of took a look back, and then currently, and then into the future, some of the things that we're predicting or trending. And then after I did my presentation, I got to actually moderate a panel discussion or a fireside chat with the person that's in charge of Snapchat in Saudi Arabia, Abdullah Al-Hamandi. I had to practice his name.
Work.
I did. I know. And we discussed the future of digital advertising, and Snapchat is huge in Riyadh, and more people are on it. And it's not just for one particular generation, and it's for everybody. And yeah, so Snapchat is very prominent there, and got to talk to him a lot about what's going on in where opportunities lie in utilizing virtual reality. Mm-hmm. And at the Snapchat booth, because imagine, it was 7 big, ginormous tents of halls, and all of these different vendors, and Microsoft and Cisco and Dell and Apple, Oracle, everybody was there, and vendors and investors and startup businesses. There was a competition. Anyway, so Snapchat had a booth, and I got to go try on the spectacles and see the virtual reality in my goggles that I was wearing, or spectacles I called them. Cool. And then do all kinds of fun things where I could scan a QR code, and then on my Snapchat see different filters that they made special just for Leap technology. Mm-hmm. Even at the gala that they put on for the speakers, and of course Snapchat was a sponsor, so we had different Snapchat filters that we did, and this really cool technology that we got to see. It was fun.
I was going to jump back to the intellectual property that you were talking about with AI, because in my executive MBA class, we just had that same discussion. We had a whole module on who owns what, and the lawyer who was teaching us, I think her opinion is that it'll be a joint creation for the copyright, because yes, someone wrote that algorithm, that artificial intelligence, but it still took another person to input a photo, a video, some words, a prompt to get that AI to write something. So it's her opinion that it'll be a co-authorship, co-copyright. But yeah, you're right. It'll take that first court case and a judge to decide how that
to see how it
falls
all
out.
comes together. And Shutterstock, they're really trying to be forward thinking and being able to pay those who contribute to the creative economy in this case, and who is going to, if you sample images that somebody took, then who gets credit for that?
Right.
And if there's multiple images, then multiple payouts should happen. And that's good for the creative economy, because then people are going to want to continue to create. Because, you know, the big fear is, oh, we're getting replaced by our AI and there's nothing more that we can do that's going to be not being, as good as what you can do with AI. But the truth is there's still that human connection and that human input that still needs to be able to consume what we produce in the creative economy. Exactly. And putting all that together and still being able to use that. And I think AI can definitely be a tool. It can be used for maybe some inspiration, but I think that ultimately we still need to be able to modify and create based on our own human intrinsic value that I don't know that it can ever be replaced with AI, because there's, that human factor that AI will just never have.
Well, until HAL 9000 can read your mind. That's not what you want to do, Dave. So, were you on the set of the Jetsons TV show here? I see video of these little automated robot serving trays is what it looks like, driving around. Are they delivering things to people at the conference?
Yeah. So they're little robots that you can get all of the reading materials off, which is kind of, I thought was pretty funny. Of course, they had QR codes
there's
on
a
them.
robot delivering paper reading material.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, and a lot of it was in, Arabic, so I couldn't quite read it. Or they had English versions too. But so there's that. And then if you keep scrolling.
This is like a Roomba for reading.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's some happy looking robot showing me a monitor.
Right. And speaking
Zumba, interactive robot.
Yep.
Huh.
And it was kind of creepy a little bit because, she could follow you and track you and, But there was another
to get you.
presentation and then, trade show booth where it was a robot that was made to look real. I mean, the skin tone, and the tractions and the movements of this robot looked very real. I mean, it was as if we were in a Hollywood movie, but I was so amazed. And it can talk, it can walk, it can shake your hand, it can look at you, it can move. And just like even the movements of its head, you could even see how like they thought about how your throat's going to move, or your chin and like the skin and how it will react and do. It was just amazing, like and blinking its eyes, and it was kind of creepy. And then they modeled it after a real human, and so the real human was standing next to the robot human, or not human, a robot. It was like, wow. And then another example where there was a female robot, if you will, that could determine what kinds of emotional status. So the person who was presenting was asking this robot, what do I feel right now? And he would show different faces. Like he would show angry and she would say, you are angry. Or he would show them smiling and she would say, you are happy. I mean, it was like, because she could see with her eyes. It was insane.
So do they have a male version of that for us husbands that can detect what emotion the wife is feeling? Because
Good
that's
luck. Because you need a robot to know.
I'm not going there. Here's an interesting picture. There's food.
More food. Lots of food.
Well, no, these are plants, like food growing.
Yes.
Biohydro.
Yes.
So
okay. Yeah, it's a
vertical farm.
Yeah, and you can grow your herbs and have your roots in the system, and it has a grow light, and you can move it to where you want it to go, and you just water it.
Sweet.
And and you can have your own salad in your own kitchen that you're creating
some
yourself.
Basil and some oregano and some flowers. Sweet.
Lots of really interesting new technologies and ways of doing things. There was haptics, so people who were wearing these haptic suits and green screen and, virtual space that you could then see on a screen that was converted right then and there, and people were moving and, creating this kind of virtual reality with the haptics that you had on, and the video games, and like there were where you could stand on this kind of, it was kind of like Dance Revolution, remember that? But you're standing on this like platform that moves with you move, and when you move, it moves, and you've got this big giant screen in front of you, and you're kind of flying, and you're standing on this thing, and you're wearing the goggles, you're doing the thing. It was really like, futuristic kind of things that you would think, but it's here, it's now, it's what's happening. We are in the virtual space. I was inside the metaverse in a big, huge room that had all of these projector screens, but it filled every corner of the room, on the ceiling, on the floor, on the corners, everywhere. And it was like this whole virtual space that you were inside of it. And you could, I don't know, it felt like the holograms in Star Trek, and it was real.
Now I'm on to some video. Are these drones?
Oh yeah,
that were all pre-programmed?
I think it was the end of day 2 or maybe end of day 3. Yeah, all of the pre-programmed drones were doing a light display outside. So when we walked out, it was dark, and they lit up the sky, and they had different patterns, and they showed the state of Riyadh. They had the sponsors up there, and they had like kind of it looked like a firework display, but it was drones. And then they had the flag, and then they put up, because it was Ministry of Communication it showed the different people and parts and all the sponsors, and it was amazing. It was really a cool show to watch.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was for a long time too. And people were just standing there taking photos as we were, supposed to be getting on our buses to leave back to the hotels and stuff. And we were just watching the really cool light display. And yeah, it was super fun to watch.
That's awesome. More food.
Lots of food.
Map of the venues.
Yes.
Your speaker's badge.
Yes, I took that because it has a QR code on it you had to use. And if I lost it, then I would not be able to get in. And I got to go to the speakers lounge and hang out there and meet other amazing, brilliant speakers. On my ride over one time from the hotel, I got to ride over with her. I can't think of her name right now. I'll have to think of it. But she's like, since she's been 12 years old, she's been on stage talking about just various things. She's an inventor. She's an entrepreneur. She's about to graduate, and she's from Colorado.
Awesome.
And we talked about, and her topic was all about, workplace in the next generation, and working with the next generation of youth and females. That's the other thing too. Like females in Saudi Arabia, people are always like, oh, you got to be really careful, and you have to wear the hijab, you have to cover. And I really didn't have to. The only thing that they wanted me to do is make sure I covered my shoulders and my knees, and just dress modestly, which I did, no problem. But it was safe. There was security everywhere. I didn't feel at all like I was in danger or anything like that. They have come a long way, and a lot of changes have been made since their last people who were in power, and now the new kind of, who took over now is very much open to allowing women to do things that they otherwise weren't allowed to do. Like they can drive now. Since 2018, they've been able to drive in Saudi Arabia. And
awesome.
I had a woman driver one time, and with no male accompanying or anything like that. And we had great conversations, and I asked a lot of questions, and in some ways they have more progression than what we do here in the States in like some of what you can and can't do as a woman, which is really interesting. Yeah, and I don't want to get political or anything, but for example, abortion is something that they allow there. They do not here now. So right. It's just interesting to see the different progressions that have come a long way from where they were to where they are now and where they're going. They want to have more women speakers. It used to be that the women couldn't go in the same room as the men at a conference. They had to have their own speaking room, and they would be on stage. And if men wanted to hear what they had to say, they could only hear the slides and hear them. They couldn't see them. and women couldn't go into where the men were. But now it's much more progressive, much more open, much more inviting and exciting. I will tell you, it's the first time in my life I've really seen where there was a line to the men's bathroom as opposed to the women's bathroom. I mean, it is a technology conference. Yeah, okay, that's probably going to happen. But I think that there's definitely more room for more women to be involved, and they want more women to be involved. They are increasing the invitations for more women to be participating. And it was really cool because after I was done speaking, a lot of people came up to me afterwards and just, asked all kinds of questions and wanted to know, starting a business and what that was like. And, hey, I've just started my business for the first time. What advice, what would you give me? How would you, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I've made a lot of connections and have met with a lot of people now and just bridging the gap between where things were to where they are and can be now and into the future. So I'm pretty excited about what's going to come from my journey over, to the other side of the world practically. But yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of technology, a lot of brilliance that's happening that, is coming along. A few other people that I got to meet was from the whole space technology stage and what's going on there with biomedicine and just so many new advances of things that's going to happen. One speaker talked about the health of the astronauts and what, the whole next mission that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And how they're studying now to see what is going to happen and how they can understand when they go on a mission to Mars, which is really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay here on the ground and watch it from YouTube. But that's awesome that other people want to go there on behalf of all mankind. Yeah. I just ran across your Terminator video here of the animatronic person modeled after the other person. And
isn't that crazy?
Watch out, John Connor.
It's crazy. It's so interesting how it looks so real, too.
Yeah.
Right? The robot looks so real.
I can tell the difference between the two, but yeah, it's
the closest I've ever seen.
Pretty scary realistic, yeah.
Yeah, the Jetsons, it's not too far from what could be. It's crazy.
No, they made some pretty good predictions back in the 60s. Well, Ray, I think you covered quite a bit, and it looks like you had an awesome time and learned a lot and ate some interesting food.
Well, and I took a tour of some of the oldest, the wall that was surrounding the city, and learned a lot about the history and the wars that they've had and just kind of where they've been and where they're going now. I think it was fascinating to see how they were living and the way of life that they had before. Well, when we took the tour, we had the guided tour and went to a variety of different places, and 400 BC from moving forward to now, and just looking through the history of the country, of the region, and how they lived, and it was really interesting because they had family trees and they only documented men. They didn't document women. So it was really interesting to see. I'm going to be curious to see how they move forward now that it's a little more progressive than what it had been. But anyway, lots of good stuff. And I think that if anyone has ever said, I would be fearful of going, I don't think that's the case as much anymore. Of course, it's like that wherever you go, no matter what country you go to. And people, that's the thing we said with speakers from all over the world that were there at the gala. People are afraid to come to America because of the things that are going on here. So It's really a twist, because then people, you don't want to go there, it's scary. Well, now sometimes people don't want to go to other places either because of things that they hear, or maybe, misinformation or old information to where it used to be versus now where it is now. So the other thing, we read before we went, like they don't, allow tobacco. They don't allow drinking. They don't allow this, that, and the other. Actually, tobacco's pretty prominent there, but no drinking. And that's still like that. And women can choose to wear the cover-ups if they want. They're not forced to do that. Despite what people may think or believe, they don't have to. They choose to because it's part of their culture, it's part of their religion, whatever. But they certainly are not forced to do that. At least that's my perception, my opinion, and all of the people that are locals that I talk to, you know, because I ask a lot of questions, and that's just sort of the journalistic nature in me. I want to know, you know, what's it like? And we also, like, our tour guide told us the whole story about how, you know, he came to be with his wife and how they, you know, how they date and how it comes to be that they get together, and you know, women are not forced to stay with their men if they, you know, whatever. It's like, it's very much different than it was before, I think. So anyway, I guess that's, if anyone ever had the fear, now they can maybe at least know that it's not quite the same as it was, and that I had a wonderful time. I had amazing food. Everyone was very hospitable and, you know, wanted to ask me questions too from, you know, being an American. So it was just a great experience, and, you know, meeting people from all over. Also, I talked to the director, the ministry communication director of the communication, and he said, I think on day 2, there had already been 225,000 people coming through the whole, wow. And they at one point actually had to close off because they were at capacity, and turn people away for a while because it was so many people that wanted to be a part of the technology conference and learn and just talk. And yeah, it was definitely fascinating. I see a lot of the booths that could use our services too, because I think that sometimes the English translation isn't quite what it needed to be. So I gave my card out to a couple people, shameless plug, but I was like, you know, I can really help you if you want this to read right with, you know, grammar. Yeah.
Grammar matters.
Yeah, grammar matters. But no, just making connections too. I think it was in the rocket fuel startup where they got to pitch all of their entrepreneurial ideas and things. And in the investors lounge, it was really neat to see the investors come together with the people who were pitching their new ideas. And then they had given away people, you know, that pitched won a big chunk of money, which was really, really fascinating and cool to see, because now they're going to be able to, you know, start and fuel their business. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of kicked off your speaking year. Next, you're headed to Vegas to speak at Post-Production World and NAB.
National Association of Broadcasters.
You got the Creativity Conference in Iceland and some local stuff. So I'm glad you went. I'm glad you had a good time and learned things and shared what you know with the rest of the world. Yeah. Yeah. I think next time, I think I want to fly first class. Can we do that? You got it. We'll work it out with the conference organizer.
That is the heart.
Mrs. Allen requires first class accommodations.
No, it's okay. I can fly economy, but I'll just get a better pillow for my neck.
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Well, hopefully you've gotten some good knowledge from this. The best thing that you can do is give us some reviews, share this with those that you know that need to hear what we have to say, and visit us at themarketingexpedition.com for more information about marketing and helping you build your brand and your bottom line. And if you ever need our services at Peppershock, we can certainly help you with that in helping you with your creative needs and do all the things that we do here. So with that, everyone, and thank you, Drew, for interviewing me.
Thanks for having me. It's only been like 200 episodes since I've been on, but it's good to be back.
That's right. And until next time, everybody, enjoy your marketing.
Journey.
Yeah, exactly.
I tried.
All right. Enjoy the marketing journey. There you go.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Expedition podcast. Want to continue the journey? Don't miss out on new episodes. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Wouldn't it be great if there was one place you can go to get all the latest information and tips about marketing and advertising? The Marketing Expedition community is that place. People like you gather in our online community to build relationships with others and find the latest marketing trends, tactics, tools, and technology. We help you build your brand and your bottom line. Start your adventure today. Visit themarketingexpedition.com to find out more.